Welcome back. We left off somewhere. Yes, we left off here. What is your theory? My theory remains the same as when I related it to you yesterday. Mr. Carceretto did not see Mr. Knight's body when he passed through the tunnel. As such, the body could only have been dropped down the well during the show. We both know the only one who could have dropped the body down there during the show is Mr. Saint. That's still your assertion, and you can prove it, of course. Of course you can. Who do you think you're up against? What Eustace means to say is that we received the final autopsy report just ahead of our arrival. She really is a very busy woman, busy looking after baby Winter. The victim appears to have died the night before the body was discovered. In other words, the night before the show. The cause of death is as stated. It seems the wound is 4 inches deep. Interesting. Simeon Saint was off stage for a period of 15 minutes. That was plenty of time for him to throw the victim's body down the well. Judge Gavel hasn't investigated the yard yet, which means... I fear there may be something of a flaw with your theory, Your Honor. You seem very confident of that. But do you have any evidence to prove it? Yes, I think I just might. Alright, time to test my memory from last week. My theory remains the same. Sure. Did not see Mr. Knight's body when he passed through the tunnel. That part's confirmed. The body could only have been dropped down the well during the show. We agree with this. So this is the flaw part, because the trick has... The trick was that Simeon put a bunch of weights in the well, and then someone swapped the weights for the body. So, present. The trick. Yeah, this.
Objection!
Sorry, Your Honor, but there's something else you're gonna have to take into account. The well in the yard was rigged up to create a certain unique contraption. A contraption? Go on. You will recall that Mr. Saint was sent flying from the stage by the elephant? I do, just before he was to be absent for some time. He was only able to fly through the air thanks to a weighted rope he tied around himself. Dropping the weighted end down the well allowed him to complete the trick.
Objection!
Wait, wouldn't that send him flying as soon as he set foot on the stage?
Hold it!
It's simple, really. He kept the weights from falling by using a stake to keep the rope in place. With a second rope, he was able to pull the stake free, thereby controlling when the weight was dropped. We have found... You know what would have been funny? Is if, that Carceretto, is that the guy who tried to escape? He went through the tunnel, and then just all the weights dropped on him. We have found evidence to suggest that the original weight was replaced with Knight's body. This was done by the real killer in order to create an alibi. The estimated time of death tells us that the murder took place early in the morning. The killer could have tampered with the contraption in the time between the murder and the show. You're saying Mr. Saint himself set the contraption up, right? Well then, who do you think the number one most likely person to have used it to dispose of a body? I'm thinking it's the warden. I don't know why though. Even you must see how this looks. If Mr. Saint was the killer, he could have simply done as Judge Gavel theorized, without these extra steps. Miss Barry? Yes? Does anyone else know how Mr. Saint's trick works? Well, let's see. We had to get the prison's approval on what we were going to perform, so I don't think Simeon's the only one who knows. And there you have it. Interesting. You have certainly been diligent in your investigation. And yet, I fail to comprehend your actions still. Why do you not work to do what is right? That's a little bull. Is what I'm doing wrong? If so, who is it that deems it so? How can you not grasp even that? How can you not see that what you are doing is wrong in this very moment? You are a prosecutor, and yet you aid the defense. See, that's the kind of... Like... The goal should be arrest the guilty, protect the innocent. not make sure the offense wins and the defense loses. This flies in the face of common sense. You are breaking every rule in the book. I think of only what is right and just, and act as I see fit in each situation I am confronted with. This is the path I have chosen, and whether you can comprehend that choice is immaterial. But if you mean to stand in my way, I will fight back with all I can bring to bear. Perhaps the goddess of justice is testing me. I feel like the goddess of justice would want justice, not victory in the face of justice. Very well. If it is her will that we must fight, then I shall end this once and for all. There is another reason why only Mr. Saint can be the killer. Please go on. If the body was moved from the yard to the workshop, then Mr. Knight must have first been brought here to the yard from his cell. The only person who had the opportunity to do that is Simeon Saint, and thus he remains the only plausible suspect. Mr. Saint took a cage with him to Mr. Knight's cell, but why would he do that? Why take such an unwieldy object all the way to the holding cell? Yeah, it is pretty sus. God damn it. Though we've all met Mr. Saint, that's exactly the kind of thing he would do. It's entirely plausible that he took the cage with him out of absent-mindedness and nothing else. It may be plausible, but it is no more or less plausible than him having helped Mr. Knight to escape. I need some real solid evidence if I'm going to get her to budge. If the body was moved from the yard to the workshop, that's fine. Then Mr. Knight must have first been brought here to the yard from his cell. The only person who had the opportunity to do that? I don't think that's true. Because there's, what's his name? Even though Carcerado claimed but yeah.
Objection!
Mr. Saint is far from the only one who had the opportunity. Which opportunity are we talking about? Ah, shut up, kid. We previously established that the time code on the security footage was off by 3 hours, and from this we can deduce that there must have been a power outage lasting for that length of time, during which anyone could have moved around. Yay. I completely forgot about that part. I was just like, well, he's not the only one that went into the cage. Or the cell. Do you mean to say that our killer intentionally created this 3-hour gap? That it was no simple camera malfunction? Is that even possible? It was completely possible to create the 3-hour gap using the circuit breakers, right? Yay.
Take that!
Our investigation of the yard turned up something rather interesting. A panel of breakers, one which can be used to cut the power to the security cameras. We also learned that the door to the power room may have been opened at around the time of the murder. What? Such a shame. To see one so capable fall so short of the mark. Mr. Edgeworth knows what he's doing. Then how does he explain the lock on the power room door? Oh yeah, it was kind of locked up tight, and the warden's the only one with the key. Those breakers are vital to the prisoner's infrastructure, so I very much doubt that anyone could have gained access to the power room's key so easily. No, but one person could have. I beg your pardon? That person, the killer, had easy access to it, in fact. And what's more, their position here is such that nobody would dare question them. What? There's no one like that. The breaker to the electric fence is in there. They would be questioned in an instant. There's only one person who meets these criteria, the warden. The person who had access to the power room's key was... Where is it? There you are. Fifi.
Take that!
But why did you kill him, Fifi? Warden Laguarde. Oh, just look at you. Aren't you the cutest little poochie woo? He's not just a pretty face. Missile also has quite the nose for sweet things. It seems he's smelling something very sweet indeed and is coming from you. Oh, darling, you're making me blush. I'm not even wearing perfume. Then perhaps it's the sweet stench of death. You're a regular poet, aren't you? I had no idea. But if I didn't know better, I'd almost think you were calling moi the killer. That is precisely what I'm calling you. What? Warden Lavarde is the killer? Mr. Edgeworth, do you realize what you're saying? Oh ho ho, such a naughty boy. How could he suspect me? I'm the one in charge around here. It's like we're in a murder mystery, aren't we? And equally far-fetched, this is preposterous. Sadly, it is not, although I can hardly believe it myself. But this is where the evidence points, and we must trust in the evidence. This piece of evidence proves... She's the only one that has access to the breaker, so it's probably that. She would know about the trick, because we had to, like, get the prison authorized. Sweet scent, maybe? If missiles... It's either the breakers, because she's the only one... Well, this doesn't talk about the locked room. Located in the power room just off the prison yard. Were they tampered with the night before? Okay, I think it's the body, because the body specifically calls out the sweet scent. Which we've agreed is the tunnel, but if she has the sweet scent... Okay, I'm gonna go with the body.
Take that!
Yeah, your scent betrays you, Warden. And here is your accuser. The police dog? We had him track a sweet scent that was lingering around Knight's body back when it was first found. He now appears to be smelling the same scent, and it's coming from you. Oh ho ho, darling, you're priceless, really you are. Your evidence is a whiff of suspicion? Verity, dear, do put him in his place. It seems Judge Gavel may have reached a similar conclusion to myself. You believe this to be no mere coincidence, Mr. Edgeworth? I do. After all, she had the key, and the scent found lingering on the body is hers as well. Or just one or the other, we might be able to brush it off as coincidence, however. Indeed, then it seems a conclusion approaches. Perhaps we should hear what the Warden has to say for herself. See, okay. As annoying as she has been to me, I do like that, like, there clearly is some kind of alternate motive. Like, you keeping me off the case and getting rid of me and yada yada. But I don't think she's trying to arrest Simeon just for the sake of arresting him. Like, in the face of evidence, like, she does seem to be willing to switch off of Simeon if the evidence points in that direction. Like, if it's just like, if she's just taking a guess at Simeon and we're taking a guess on the Warden, then she's gonna go with Simeon. But since the evidence is pointing to the Warden, she's willing to go that way. We should, and when we have, this case will finally be at an end. You're all being simply awful. Stop looking at me like that. Me, the killer? How could I possibly do such a thing? I didn't do it. Verity told me everything she knows about the case, sweetie. The victim died in his cell, so by your logic, I would have had to have killed him there. But how am I supposed to have moved the body? Especially as I never went to the prison. I was too busy with work, you see. I was cooped up in my office until right before the show began. Check if you like, you won't find any record anywhere of me having entered or left the prison. Right there. We can't. I haven't the first idea what harebrained theories you little scamps have cooked up, but I'm innocent. There simply is no way I could be the killer. Give me a break, Missile does a lie. Don't make it hard on everyone to just come clean. Oh dear, I'm afraid you are the one making things difficult. As I just said, I never went into the prison. If you think I'm lying, go and check the records. Yeah, she clearly wants us to check those records, which means they won't help us. We'll just have to find another way of getting the truth out of her. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, stop being a big silly. You've made a boo-boo and you know it. I need a drink of water. Hold on. Stay hydrated, everybody. I didn't do it. I think it's that, like, last part. This part. Check if you like. You won't find any records. I'm gonna press this. See what she says. Sure, maybe you didn't go through the main entrance to the prison, but what if you took another route? Oh, come now, sweetie. Surely you don't mean that awful, filthy tunnel they discovered. Why, until yesterday I had no idea it even existed. No, you had another way in, I'm certain of it. A route that didn't require going through the main entrance or the tunnel. The route you took... Yeah, so she went through here? Yeah, she didn't go through the cell, and she went through here. So I think what I'm implying is that this guy didn't finish his tunnel yet. So she went through the well. There's a wall here. Or wall here. So she went cell detention center, and then back up. And then he finished his wall, maybe? I don't know, but either way I think the U is the answer. Through the fence? Oh, or that. Warden, you took Knight from his cell and brought him into your office, which just happens to be connected to the yard. If you had a way through the fence... Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense too. Yeah, I didn't even notice that door connecting the warden office to the yard. If you had a way through the fence, then you would have been able to circumvent both the entrance and the tunnel. Hee, a gold star for creativity, darling. And how would I have gotten through the fence? The extremely high fence, toppled with razor wire with thousands of volts of electricity going through it. Yeah, how's she? Shut up, Winter. The fence's electricity supply can be cut off from the power room. And only you have the key, Warden. No one else but you could have done it. Utterly ridiculous, the power room is on the prison side of the yard. Warden LaGuardia was on the detention center side. How would she have reached the power room? Exactly, Verity, darling. Well, Cleverpuss, you've dug yourself a real hole now. If there is no record of Warden LaGuardia having entered the prison proper, then the idea that she could have shut off the fence by using the breaker is out of the question. Take a deep breath, big guy. Lose your cool when you've lost everything. But if I don't find a solution, she might still wiggle out of this. Hey, I said take a deep breath, not freak out and completely lose your cool. There's nothing to be gained by banging your head against the same wall. No matter how you look at it. Okay, so she had an accomplice. Mr. Edgeworth, if you cannot find a... Shut up. I like how I objected with silence. You aren't doing yourself any favors by obstructing justice with your silence. That was a reflexive objection. But now that I've yelled it, if I don't come up with an answer, it's all over. I have one more thing to add, if you'll permit me. Something that explains how the warden could have shut off the breaker from the wrong side of the fence. Because it's not as impossible as it seems. An accomplice. She couldn't have done it alone, but what if she wasn't alone? Ooh, now we're talking. Way to flex the old gray matter, kiddo. I believe that Warden LaGuardia had an accomplice. Enough, you disappoint me, shut up. What do you mean? Mr. Edgeworth has said nothing wrong. The inmates of this prison are all issued with security bracelets. There's one of them who doesn't. Well, who does, but it was broken. The ones that raise an alarm if people go where they're not supposed to. I see that you realize the error, and we are, of course, within the prison grounds, where not only the bracelets worn, but even the guards survey each one for signs of wrongdoing. And despite all of that, no one noticed Mr. Crotchroido's escape. The only ones who are free to roam are the animals, and they most certainly could not have operated the breaker. No, so our accomplice must be human. Then who did it, given that it cannot have been a prisoner or a guard? I wouldn't be so quick to rule out either, Your Honor. The fact is, there is one person, someone whose movements weren't restricted. So we'll go with Mr. Sod's broken bracelet then.
Take that!
This is one of the prisoner's bracelets? Indeed, a broken bracelet belonging to a certain self-proclaimed model prisoner. What do you mean? And who is this prisoner? Frank Sod, Warden LaGuardia's favorite inmate. It's strange, isn't it, Warden? That he was able to keep his broken bracelet hidden and wander freely around the prison all the while. That is pretty funky, and I don't mean in a good way. It couldn't be the case that he was permitted some sort of special leeway, could it? Although you are in the habit of giving such leeway to certain others. Canis, for example. Mr. Edgeworth, that is pure speculation. In that case, why don't we ask Mr. Sod himself? I'm confident he will confirm for us that he and Warden LaGuardia were accomplices in this crime. If the two of them have worked together, a certain route into the prison becomes viable. The real route by which Knight was moved from his cell to the prison proper. Recall that there were two big obstacles in her path. First, the security camera outside Knight's cell. Second, the electric fence in the yard. But she was able to remove both obstacles in one fell swoop, by having Mr. Sot shut off the corresponding breaker. Alright, Mr. Edgeworth, you've had your fun. And? Do you still deny Warden LaGuardia? Oh, wait, what? She admits it. Warden? Tell me this isn't true. Sorry, Verity, honey. I'm afraid it is. Frankie helped me do it. No way. You did it, Mr. Edgeworth. You got her. Nice shooting, cowboy. She won't be wriggling out of this now. As Mr. Edgeworth said, I had Frankie switch off the breaker. But we didn't kill Knight, did we? No, Sweetums, no we didn't. What? Warden, explain yourself. Oh, Verity dear, I doubt your precious goddess will want to hear my excuses now. She is all merciful. You have but to confess, and you shall be saved. Oh gosh, alright. I was being threatened. I had no choice but to do as he said. So help me God, if you say Simeon. Okay, Canis. Canis, that awful assassin. How long has it been since that awful man came here to my beautiful prison? I'll never forget the day he arrived. The moment we were alone, he said this to me. You should know that I have other dogs. Dogs not confined to this fine institution. Others? Yes. Very loyal dogs. Dogs who will do anything I ask of them. Of course, he wasn't talking about real dogs. He was talking about his very human cronies. And then he said one last thing. I would recommend that you take care in how you treat me during my stay here. I wouldn't want to have to set my dogs on you, or your precious family. I had no choice. I gave him that cell, I gave him everything he asked for. Everything? Wait, is that how he became the fixer? Yes, darling. I obeyed his every command and smuggled in for him all that he wanted. Eventually, I brought dear, sweet Frankie into our little conspiracy. He agreed right away, of course, because I made things easier for him too. So you were smuggling in contraband, how exactly? Once a week, late at night, Frankie would shut off the breakers. That allowed me to go from my office to the yard without being seen by the cameras. Then I simply dropped packages down the well on the prison side and went back through the fence. Each one of them spritzed with a little of my perfume. So that's what the sweet smell was? Yes, it was a signal for Canis's dog. When he picked up the scent, he would fetch the packages and bring them back to his master. He had to make sure Rocco wasn't in his cell at the time, of course. Can't have been easy keeping him from finding out. Oh, we're all very much creatures of habit here at the prison, darling. Everything runs to a schedule. Meal, exercise hours, that sort of thing. We knew when he wasn't there. And that adorable little bear of his freezes with fright at the sight of Candace's dog, poor thing. So there was no risk of him raising an alarm either. She has oversight over everything here at the prison, which made her the perfect mule. With her on his side, Candace couldn't fail. Frankie would sneak out again early in the morning to switch the breakers back on, and our work was done. Apart from fixing the time codes on the camera, which I would do later when I got a chance. You have shared a great deal, Warden. The goddess of justice will surely take your honesty into account. I've been the most dreadful fool, I know I have. I'm supposed to be the one in charge. The day of Knight's murder was also one of our delivery days, and so Frankie, bless his heart, did as usual with the breakers. But there was no package for me to deliver that day, so I didn't go out into the yard. So that's the secret behind the fixer's system and why she was. The police have been trying to track down his accomplices for the longest time. Even I've had to lend them a hand myself, you know. Heaven knows how many times I've hauled the secretive scoundrel into my office to talk to me. But no matter what I say or how much evidence I present him with, he simply won't say a word. That's why you interrogating Mr. Knight, or Mr. Candace over and over? Exactly, I was trying to track down those horrible henchpeople of his. I borrowed everything the police had on that rotten scoundrel. I watched his every move, intercepted every letter he wrote. His letters. But I suppose she must know about the corresponding chess games, too. But no matter what I did, I couldn't turn up any clues as to who his underlings were. Living in fear like this, oh, you just can't comprehend it. As you have just heard yourself, Mr. Edgeworth, the words of Warden LaGuardia's confession have cleansed her of all suspicion. Surely there is no need to hound her any longer. Has she really been cleared of all suspicion, though? Or is there more for her to uncover? There's definitely more. I'm sorry, Your Honor, but this conversation isn't over yet, and I think the Goddess of Justice would agree. So you mean to make her suffer even more than she already has? Unfortunately, her suffering under Mr. Candace does nothing to prove her innocence in Knight's murder. She admitted herself that she knew of and even facilitated the so-called fixer's delivery route. I believe she used the same route to move Knight's body. And where is your evidence, Mr. Edgeworth? It's in the fact that the sweet smell on Knight's body is the exact same scent Warden uses as a signal for delivery. What do you make of that? Well, that's because we've done it so many times by now that the well probably smells of it. Some of it must have just rubbed off on his body. That does match the statement Mr. Carceretto provided. A smell? Yeah, always smelled kind of nice down there. Nice? Gee, I don't know. Smelled sort of like dessert, I guess. His words would seem to suggest that the smell had permeated the well. You've been rendered speechless, I see. Then I hereby move to adjourn this session of court. No. What do we do, Mr. Edgeworth? What can I do? Is this as far as we go? Finally, so we're actually done? Yes, Eustace, it seems we are. By the power vested in me, this court is adjourned. Oh god. Who is it? I'm guessing it's my boss. Who was that? Yeah, I forget his name. Fender. Come on, Judge G, things were just getting good. Fender. Are you objecting to my adjourning this session? Hey. No. What a shouted objection if I wanted that. You do you, G. Adjourn, don't adjourn, whatever floats your boat. What are you doing, Mr. Fender? Don't worry about what I'm doing. Let's all just take a chill pill, shall we? By which I mean a square of chocolate. Goodness, anyone? Are you trying to get yourself charged with contempt of court? No, my bad. I just had a quick request to make of all. As Simeon Saint's lawyer, that is. Ah yes, I'd forgotten that you were his real attorney. How could you? You're killing me here. Can you blame us? You've kind of been making Mr. Edgeworth do everything. Right you are, which is why I figured it's time to put in some work. Work, you say? Somehow, I don't believe you've worked a day in your life. And let's say this is me doing some prep work for the upcoming trial. Mind if I question the witness? Now? Amusing, but what is there left to ask? I've got a feeling in my funny bones that Thief's here has something more to tell us about the killer. Do I? Yes, indeed. See, as a major player on Team Simeon, I can spot a sympathizer when I see one. And you don't think he did it, do you? So tell us, who did? Come on, spill the beans. We're all ears. Mr. Edgeworth, what's he doing? He's trying to coax Warden into giving something away. Ask yourself, why would she go through all the trouble of sending Knight's body on such an odd journey? It's because she wanted to frame Mr. Canis. She did, no way. If he was convicted of committing murder here, that could have been grounds to transfer to another prison. Most likely a more secure facility, and where he'd be out of her hair forever. Precisely, she saw her opportunity and seized it. No, Saint can't not be the killer. That's not fair. I was all ready to prosecute him. I know, right? But maybe we should find out what she thinks first. You don't want to get the wrong guy, yeah? Nice. Now Mr. Winter has to go along with it too. Well, Warden, are you happy to testify further? Of course. How could I refuse this silver-tongued devil? Eddykins, you have such a way with words. Just doing my job, thief. Besides, one can't tell the truth without telling the whole truth, can one? I'm simply dying to tell all. Verity, darling, do say you'll let me. As you wish. Court is unadjourned. I can't believe you pulled that off, Mr. Fender. Whew, me either. Thank you for the timely intervention. Hey, it's the least I could do. Kay's not wrong. I've been leaning on you hard. And besides, the defense never rests. Am I right? Simeon's depending on us. Sadly, I think I just about exhausted my reserves of cool lawyer chat there, and we can't follow this up now. Which means you're up to bat, Miles. Show 'em that never rest spirit. I shall. Fabulous, then let's get started. My truth. I really don't think anyone could have done it, but that dreadful Mr. Canis. There's no telling what went on between him and the victim. Perhaps he simply took a disliking to him, he's certainly the type. But whatever the sordid details, it was him, he stabbed that poor man to death, and then he had his dog dispose of the body. That simply has to be what happened. The victim, Mr. Knight, yes. I did him the most terrible disservice. Yes, you killed him. I suppose you could put it that way. If I weren't such a sorry excuse for a warden, this would have never happened. And that's why I have to clean this terrible mess up. Warden, as ever, your honesty is truly to your credit. I am certain Mr. Knight is looking down and weeping tears of gratitude. You've clearly never met Mr. Knight. Alright, I really don't think anyone could have done it but that dreadful man Canis. There's no telling what went on between him and the victim. Perhaps he simply took a disliking to him. Whatever the sordid details, it was him, he stabbed him, and then he had his dog dispose of the body. Did I press this?
Hold it!
What more can you tell us about those sordid details? Well, we all know what Canis once did for a living. I doubt the killing part gave him much trouble, especially as the victim was already injured, his neck I think. Couldn't turn his head to the right, poor dear, that's what they told me when they brought him in anyway. And they must make some sort of report for the warden. You seem keen for us to think you didn't know much about Knight. That's because I didn't, sweetie, and the victim was simply a fun target to that monster, nothing more. I expect Canis used the chisel that was hidden in the chess set, don't you? Awfully grisly business. Just imagine, the man probably didn't even have time to cry out. I see, thank you for your thoughts. They were very helpful. Actually, I'd like to hear about them in a little more detail if you don't mind. Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, you're making me blush. I could chat with you all day. Oh, don't look so nervous, darling. I'm only teasing. Of course we can chat about them some more. You expect Canis... So Knight hit a chisel in here. Did you already know about that? I mean, I imagine you've been up to date on this.
Objection!
Warden LaGuardia, you strike me as being more careful than the image you project suggests. Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, please call me Fifi, or Sweetie Pie if you prefer. However, I think you may have been a little less careful than you realize in this instance. Tee-hee, aren't you just the most adorable little creature? Don't be embarrassed, we're all family here. Come on, Mr. Edgeworth, don't let her get inside your head. You said earlier that you didn't know much about Knight, in which case I find it rather strange that you knew about the chisel. Well, of course I do, darling. You think we don't check prisoners when they come in?
Objection!
If you did, you would know about the chisel, then you wouldn't have made it in. You're not talking your way out of this, Warden. That is extremely irrelevant, and you know it. Knight didn't bring the chess set into the prison himself. It was brought by Mr. Saint when he came to visit Knight. Oh, when he came to visit. Knight wouldn't have had it with him when he arrived. What? Well, I mean, of course that when Mr. Saint came in, You checked him? I find that hard to believe, because if you did, that makes your story all the stranger. If you found the chisel, why did you not confiscate it there and then? Eek! Judge Gavel, did you tell anyone about the hidden compartment in the chess set? I did not. If no one leaked our findings, then how exactly did you learn about the chisel, Warden? Because it certainly could have been, it couldn't have been when you checked Knight or Mr. Saint on their arrival. Indeed, such a thing would imply an intentional oversight if it had been found, yet let through. Precisely. So, Warden, and answer truthfully this time, where and when did you learn about the chess set? If you won't answer, then allow me. Alright, darlings. There's no need to rub it in. You got me, alright? I questioned Knight. That was when I learned about the chess set. But please, you have to believe me, I did not kill him. One moment, Warden. This is a significant development. The court requests that you make a detailed statement on the record. Any objections, Mr. Edgeworth? None, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you, darlings. I'll clear up this awful misunderstanding, I promise. I'm still waiting for that jacket to erupt in a bunch of foxes. Very well. Go ahead, Warden LaGuardia, and please, tell the truth this time. Her lies are starting to wear thin. This is my chance to expose her. I said I questioned Knight, but it wasn't anything serious, you understand? I make a point of talking to every newcomer to our little home. Knight was no different. We had just a little chat, you might call it. And after we talked, I had him taken back to his cell straight away. The more she lies, the more thoroughly she seals her fate. So simply a conversation with the new detainee, that seems entirely above board. Exactly, Verity darling. I knew you'd understand. Well, I don't. What proof do you have to back up your statement? I suppose we shall see, won't we, Mr. Edgeworth? You may begin your cross-examination. I think it's that last part. What did you guys talk about? Or, yeah, this. Press.
Hold it!
Yeah, like what proof? If he really had gone back to his cell, he would still be alive today. You really think I murdered that poor man right there in my office, don't you? Well, what would my motive have been, darling? I told you I barely knew him. I'm no angel, I have my grudges against Canis, but Knight had nothing to do with that animal. She really does hate Canis. Warden LaGuardia, I must insist that you append that statement to your testimony. Okay, so this is clearly important since we've had her appended to it. I'm no angel, I have my grudges against Canis, but Knight had nothing to do with that animal. So this part's not true, because they were playing chess with each other.
Objection!
Judge Gavel, I'd like you to take a look at this. Notes about a game of chess. What is the significance of this, Mr. Edgeworth? It was found in Knight's cell, which is exactly where you said you saw it too, Warden LaGuardia. But you didn't just see this game in Knight's cell, did you? You've seen it in Mr. Canis' cell too. What do you mean?
Objection!
Oh, come now. Don't tell me you haven't taken a look at the chessboard in maximum security. I imagine you watch his every move like a hawk. Or rather, I imagine you feel that doing so is your only option. If she wants to find out who his cronies are, right? Personally, interrogating your own prisoners is highly irregular, to say the least. But as you say, Mr. Canis had threatened you. He put your precious home at risk. That's why you took it upon yourself to question him. You wanted to find out who his dogs were. And so what if I did? You also told us you read his letters, which means you must have known about one key fact. You knew he was playing correspondence chess. And then who should appear but Knight, carrying with him a diagram of this particular game? We ourselves used that diagram to infer a connection between the two men. And it seems you came to the same conclusion. But in your fear, you took your reasoning one step further. You surmised that Knight was Mr. Canis' henchman sent to kill you, which is the real reason she had that chat with the Bronxter. If his boss wouldn't crack, maybe he would. And when you questioned Knight, you made another discovery. For there, inside his chess set, you found a hidden chisel. The murder weapon itself. As far as you were concerned, that chisel meant one thing, Canis. Thus, you convinced yourself that Knight was working for Canis, and that is why you killed him. I see you have no more excuses, Judge Gavel. Your verdict, please. Much as it grieves me, there would appear to be little room for doubt. I hereby give my verdict. She's going to object again. In the name of the goddess of justice, who is it this time? He. Warden? Is she, like, talking through the fox? He, it's a joke. It's all a big, stupid joke. You people don't get it, do you? I think we've proven that it's you who didn't understand things correctly. Me? Please, darling, I understand it all perfectly well. Thank you very much. Yeah, I like that one. And I understand that there's a glaring contradiction in your theory, Mr. Edgeworth. You're just grasping at straws now. I have no time for this, Your Honor. The verdict. I am curious to hear what the warden has to say. What? You're a dull, Verity, and I have one last thing to say, then, Mr. Edgeworth. Then Mr. Edgeworth can declare himself the winner. You rang? Oh my god, I forgot he was there. Does anyone remember a certain autopsy report? Of course, we received the finalized version only this morning. That's right, and I was listening to what you told us about it. Verity, even if nobody else was, you said the wound was 4 inches deep. 4 inches? Wait. Riddle me this, Mr. Edgeworth. How does a tiny chisel make a 4-inch wound? Ooh. Forgive me, O goddess, I came perilously close to making— oh my god. I like how she presents a contradiction, you're like, oh my god, I almost incriminated the wrong man, but every time I prove, like, that her accusing Simeon is wrong, she doesn't go into this train of thought. Looks like your theory is the one that doesn't hold water, Edgeworth. What now? What do we do? It'll be fine. Mr. Edgeworth always comes through, right, sir? Looks to me like Miles Satrins out of commission? You're an attorney too, aren't you? Why don't you do something? Turn things on their head with a desperate bluff. Blurt out the first mind-blowing thing that comes to mind. Look, Detective, I'm as much a man of action as the next guy. But without evidence, we're up a creek without a paddle here. This might be the end of the road. We can't give up now. We have to do something. I'm certain that Warden LaGuardia is the killer. It's the only explanation that fits the facts of the case. But if the chisel wasn't the murder weapon, what other bladed weapon is there here in the yard? It seems we still do not have all the answers, nor the evidence to provide those answers. Alas, we must wait until the trial to see the matter resolved, I'm afraid. Aw, come on, G, you're just giving the killer a chance to destroy the evidence. Are you calling the judicial process into questioning, Mr. Fender? Eep. Nope, not me. No, I tried, Miles. Any bright ideas? What is the real murder weapon, since it's clearly not the chisel? Confounded, this question throws everything we've deduced out the window. Nothing to add, Mr. Edgeworth? Allow me to remind you that claims not supported by sufficient evidence are subject to the harshest penalties. Lots of dots. It's hopeless, I can't think of anything. Any more time? Loath as I am to admit it, You can't give up now. Remember what Mr. Fender said? Simeon's counting on us. Without us, he's... Remember how upset he was? He was devastated. Hey, peekaboo. Nobody's in more pain than him over Mr. Knight's death. There's no way he did it, but if we can't save him, who will? And what's more, he believes in us. He's sitting in that cell waiting for us to bring him some good news. And I, for one, won't walk away until we have some. K. Gee, Miles, your little buddy there is quite the motivational speaker. And she's right, too. When you find yourself on the ropes, think of your client. Picture them pleading with you to help them. Doesn't that make you want to fight back as hard as you can until the very end? Think of your old man, good old Gregory. No matter how bad things look, he'd always find a way to turn it around and save his client. And you're just like him, right? If there's any way to force a turnabout here, you're the one who will find it. Simeon's counting on you. Judge Gavell. You seem to have recovered your composure, Mr. Edgeworth. But if you mean to attempt a defense, I would advise you to consider the ramifications. You have repeatedly proposed misguided... Shut up. Oh my god. Well, the only reason we're this close to the truth is because all of your theories have been wrong. If you do so again, I will have no choice but to judge you unfit to serve as a prosecutor, and relieve you of your badge for good. She's right. I have put forward a number of theories that prove to be flawed, just like she has. Have I made some sort of fundamental oversight? Wait. She said my theories were misguided. Nothing to say? Then the court will tolerate no more of your time wasting. I hereby... Sir! Mr. Edgeworth! Give my verdict. That's it. I've been thinking about it the wrong way this whole time. My theories weren't misguided. I was being misled. The defendant, Simeon Saint... I think it's a little soon for that, Your Honor. I'd say it's well past due, darling. Wouldn't you agree, Verity? Mr. Edgeworth, you may proceed. Okay, she doesn't fully buy, I'd like to remind you of a few things. The sighting of his dog, Helmut, the fact that he wasn't at the show. These and other factors made Mr. Canis the obvious suspect at first. This again, Mr. Edgeworth, you seem almost proud of your blunder. But what if the real killer wanted us to suspect Mr. Canis? What if it was all carefully arranged? And what if the same was true of the chisel, our purported murder weapon? Knight had been stabbed multiple times in the same place with a bladed instrument. What if he was stabbed with the chisel after the real murder weapon had been removed? Just to leave traces of blood on it for us to find. That was how the killer misled us into thinking the chisel was the murder weapon. But why mislead us in this way? Why indeed? Why make us think the chisel is the murder weapon rather than whatever was really used? Because it is a murder weapon in order to get Knight transferred, in order to get Canis transferred. Warden, you took advantage of what the chisel seemed to suggest. What it suggested? What are you talking about, Henry? Mr. Winter, if I were to tell you the murder weapon was a chisel, what would you think? Huh? That Mr. Canis is the killer. And there you have it. That was the trap the warden set for us. Oh, Mr. Canis had a bunch of chisels, so she wanted us to think it was one of his. Indeed. That was her plan right from the start. To frame Canis. Your reasoning would appear to be sound. Warden LaGuardia certainly seems to harbor a deep and abiding hatred for Mr. Canis. However, I think you know what I'm going to say next. That alone is not sufficient proof that Warden LaGuardia is the killer. I knew that wouldn't be enough. There's only one thing that will prove it. The real murder weapon that we know must exist. If you cannot prove your theory, then this conversation ends here. If we could just find the real murder weapon... How many times do we have to go over this? We searched the prison from top to bottom. Eustace is quite correct. No other possible murder weapon has been found. Actually, I think I think I know what it is. Because there's one place none of us could check. The metal detector picked up something in the alligator. I think we assumed it was going to be like weights? Like one of the weights? But if it was the murder weapon... no other possible murder weapon has been found. I can still prove my case yet, Your Honor, because it's still here inside the prison. This would have made sure of it, the metal detector, the security gate. I'm glad you at least remember what it is. And do you remember what it does? Of course I do, I'm not an idiot. The security gate detects metal, which means you can't bring anything metal into the prison or take it out. Oh. Precisely. If there is another murder weapon, it cannot have been taken off the premises, but nor could it have been brought into the prison in the first place, and so we find ourselves right back to where we began. What I am trying to tell you, Mr. Edgeworth, is that if you wish for me to believe that there is another murder weapon here in the prison, you will also have to explain to me how it got here. Alright? We know that the chisel was smuggled into the prison inside a pocket chess set, but our contention is that the chisel is not the real murder weapon. So if the weapon came from outside the facility, then there must have been a way to bring it in. The question is, how can you show this alternative route? How did the weapon get into the yard? You borrowed evidence from the police to help with your investigation, is that correct? Why, yes, sweetie. Everything related to Canis is now with me. Heavens know how many times I've called the secretive scoundrel into my office to talk to me. Of course, that's how. The fact that this is here shows us how the bladed object could have been through as well. Yeah, because this is here because she has all that stuff. Allow me to remind you of our conversation with Mr. Canis yesterday. Yes, it was but one of my bells, one of only two in existence. Just two. Two and only two. One for my knife and one for my beloved helmet. Exquisitely crafted, utterly unique. My ears are my guide after all, and I must be able to use my tools precisely. Of course, as you said, the knife has long been taken from me. So you see, there is a way for objects to be brought into the prison unscrutinized. As part of the evidence, Warden LaGuardia borrowed from the police. What? Mr. Canis's knife was part of the evidence in the case against him, and that evidence was here in the prison. Not only that, but that knife had a certain bell attached to it. The bell that was attached to the chisel. Correct. The killer took the bell from the knife and attached it to the chisel. But that can't be right, the chisel only had Mr. Knight's fingerprints on it. Easy enough to explain if the killer wore gloves. She made it look as if the chisel was the murder weapon, and then attached the bell to it. In doing so, she made sure all the evidence pointed to Mr. Canis. And who had access to the evidence from which the bell was taken? Why, only the person to whom it had been entrusted. Who wasn't? Oh my god. I believe that would be you, isn't that correct, Warden LaGuardia? Bells aren't exactly rare, you know. Anyone could have set that trap. Hey, unluckily for you, that isn't quite true. These particular bells are unique because there are only two of them in existence. What? What? By attaching that bell to the chisel, you as good as declared yourself the killer. But you don't have any proof the knife was ever even here to begin with. I don't, not yet anyway. Mr. Winter, I'd like you to order another search of the prison right away. Huh? But if you do find something that's gonna make things awkward for me, this isn't about what's convenient for you. We have to find the truth. You're a prosecutor, aren't you? Well, yeah, but you know. This worthless excuse for a prosecutor. Anyway, it's not my decision to make. The warden would have to authorize it. You know full well that she will do no such thing. You have the power to insist on a search. Use it. Sorry, darlings, but not without that evidence. The goddess of justice cannot bestow her blessings on those who lack proof to support their claims. Our work here is done. The rest of the matter will have to be settled in the courtroom. No, if we give LaGuardia the opportunity, she'll destroy whatever evidence is left. I have to object. I have to stop them. What do I say? I don't have anything concrete to offer. What am I thinking? I'm never this reckless? No. I can't back down now. I've got to put everything on the line. I'm not a prosecutor right now. I'm an associate attorney with a client to defend. Oh, I hate this picture of him. Only I can save Mr. Saint. Even if my chances are 1,000,000 to 1, it's still worth a shot. It's now or never. Should I object? I object. I suppose this must be how a certain serial bluffer always feels. Regardless, I cannot walk away.
Objection!
Wait, Your Honor. This had better be good, Mr. Edgeworth. I've got it. Got what exactly? The real murder weapon, of course. I know where Mr. Canis's knife is. Do you really, Mr. Edgeworth? I do. Not at all. If I didn't know better, I would say that you were bluffing. Ha! You wound me, Your Honor. I don't know the meaning of the word. This is terrible for my heart. There's no way you could. It's not here, I tell you. Well, would you be so kind as to enlighten us? Where is the real murder weapon? I think it's in the gator. Somewhere not even the police would search a blind spot in the zoo. A hiding place that the warden could be absolutely sure of. If you insist, come on, Helmut, open up. Yeah, that's how he's piecing it together, because he could use the dog to hide. Did she use the same trick? No, that's ridiculous, isn't it? But the more I think about it, how many foolproof ways to evade detection could there be? More water. Talking for a long time. Episode longer than expected. Ah, that was a lot of pop. Hopefully I remember to take that off. There's the faintest possibility I'm right, but if I'm wrong, we stand to lose everything. Your Honor, this is where the real murder weapon is hidden. Here and right there.
Take that!
Here? In the yard? Indeed. I don't believe I understand. Would you care to explain a little more? Where exactly is the real murder weapon hidden? Right there. Right there.
Take that!
Of course, that's what must have been done. Huh? What's the matter, Detective? It's the metal detector, sir. It's, reacting to the alligator. What? How? The metal detector was reacting to something inside her after all. Your Honor, I'd like to remind you of this piece of evidence. The chisel. Didn't we just figure that out? That is in the murder weapon? You might recall that Mr. Canis hid this chisel in his dog's mouth. Would you believe that the real murder was hidden in much the same way? That's right, the murder weapon is hidden inside the alligator in the pond over there. What? No way! We detected the presence of a metallic object during our earlier investigation. Judge Gavel, we need to know what's inside this alligator. Understood. Then we will need to summon a veterinarian. I'm sure I can get the little sweetie to open up for us. I'd be happy to give it a try. Please, by all means. Warden LaGuardia, the real murder weapon is about to be revealed. Why not just do the right thing and confess? I have nothing to confess. As you wish. Then you can simply wait and watch as your lies are exposed. Sir, we got it! This has to be it. It's over, Fifi LaGuardia. The real murder weapon was Canis's knife, making you the only person who could have killed Bronco Knight. I'm not the criminal here. This is all Canis is doing. I did the right thing. Knight was a threat. He was Knight's lapdog. Curse that despicable man Canis. Why did he have to come and ruin my perfect little home? We could have been happy forever if it wasn't for him. He ruined my paradise on Earth. He ruined everything. Curse him. Curse that pitiless butcher. That awful, terrible, despicable man. Curse him. Yes! I knew it! What's up, girl? I win. Prosecution... the winner, sir? The test results have just come back. The winner? I guess we've all been under a lot of stress. Traces of Bronco's night blood were found on Mr. Canis' knife. It's just like you said, sir. Congratulations on a stunning victory. Thank you, officer. Excellent work. You can continue complimenting me if you like. Yes, sir. The winner wins again. I think I'm welling up a little. With rage? Excellent work, Eustace. Just a few loose ends to tie up and we're done. Huh? What are you talking about? I just solved the case, didn't I? We have yet to confirm whether Knight really was working with Mr. Canis. It will be vital to know if Warden McGuardy was simply jumping to conclusions on that front. Huh? Huh? There's Clueless, and then there's you. Well, then I guess we better get back to our investigation. Alright, officer, you're with me. You're about to see the winner win a whole lot more. Prepare to witness first-rate investigation talent in action. Yes, sir, I'm right with you, sir. Can't wait to watch you at work, sir. It's winning time. I expect this case will cause quite a stir. The attempted murder of a president is news enough, and now his would-be assassin has been murdered. But Knight never sought to kill the president in the first place. The truth is not always as important as it might seem, Mr. Edgeworth. In the eyes of both society and the law. How can you even say that? You do not have to believe me. However, as a prosecutor, Mr. Edgeworth is obliged to accept that this is the reality of the world he operates in. Being a prosecutor is about more than proving people guilty. That's what I believe. We are all free to believe as we choose, but the law is not to be toyed with for our own personal goals. If you refuse to accept this, then you must be prepared to suffer the consequences. What does that even mean? Wait, you're not going to take his... I'm afraid I must be going now. Farewell, Mr. Edgeworth. Judge Gavelle is right. There must only be one set of laws for everyone. But if following the laws means sacrificing the truth, can I really do that in good conscience? Simeon, you're out! Hi, Regina. Is everything alright? They did let you out, right? Yeah, but I'm so confused about what's going on. Some guy just came and said I was free to go and that I had Mr. Edgeworth to thank. You sure do. Mr. Edgeworth found out who the real killer is. Wow, really? You did that for me, Mr. Edgeworth? Eep! Oh no. No, stop staring at me like that. I'm innocent, I swear. Don't pull the rug out from under me now. Stop it, silly. It's true. He saved you. So say thanks already. Okay, thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Thank you. And a great big Regina Berry thank you from me, too. Mr. Saint talking directly to me. Small victory, I suppose. Can I just ask one question, Mr. Attorney? Sure. I'm not actually an attorney, though. I thought Bronco was my friend. No, my best friend. I trusted him, but now... But now? Well, it's just... I never knew. I never would have believed that he could hate somebody enough to want to kill them. If he kept something like that from me, then he never really trusted me, did he? That's not true, Simeon. Of course he trusted you. No, he didn't. If he'd just told me, I could have stopped him. I could have told him that hate never helps, that he had to let all that stuff go. Mr. Saint, I think you're forgetting something. I should show him the thing that proves Mr. Knight trusted him. Probably the chess set? To show that shows that he trusted him because he trusted him to bring it in.
Take that!
It's the chess set I brought for him. Knight had hidden a chisel inside. I imagine he meant to use it to escape. What? You mean he was using me? No, he believed in you. He knew he could count on you to bring it, and that you would never be so untrusting as to look inside. I imagine that by not telling you, he was hoping he can keep you from getting caught up in his mess. Oh. Rocco, why didn't you tell me? At least you understand now, right, Simeon? I'm sure he does. He may not show it, but Simeon's no dummy. A good night's sleep and he'll be completely over this whole thing by tomorrow. That's not as complimentary as you think it is. Sniffle. I'll try. I have to, for Bronco. I have to show him I can become the best animal trainer out there. That's the spirit. Oh, I almost forgot. We're doing a new show soon. I'd love for you to come, Mr. Edgeworth. I'll be joining Regina on stage for this one. That's right, the very big circus is the biggest, most fabulous event in town. You'll have oodles of fun. Sounds great, doesn't it, Mr. Edgeworth? Come on, we have to go. Well, I'll think about it. Alright, Simeon. We've got some training to do. I think it's time you and Regent got acquainted. What? Regent? The tiger? No way, I can't. No. Oh, you'll be fine, silly. You'll never meet a nicer kitty cat. I can't. Please, Regina, anything but that, please. Another satisfied customer. Well, that was really something, Smiles. Talk about pulling it out of the bag. I couldn't have done it without you, Fender. Without your timely intervention, she would have gotten away. I have you in the first place to... Oh, I have to thank you for... I have you to thank for even being able to investigate the case in the first place. Oh, stop it. Pat me on the back any harder and you're gonna make me blush. Or topple over. I suppose it would be asking too much for you to take this seriously. Seriously? Miles, my friend, I'm always serious. Anyway, how does it feel to save an innocent client? That's what it means to be an attorney, after all. To be an attorney. Gotta say, I had a blast. It reminded me of the good old days. Like Gregory was standing right there beside me. It's been like a zillion years since I've felt this warm and fuzzy on the job. That's good? Bittersweet? I'm not sure. Say, Miles, you ever thought about going into the defense game full-time? Excuse me? You know, pick up where Gregory left off. Get out there and actually help people. Hey, pal, don't get any big ideas. Mr. Edgeworth ain't about to switch sides. Why not? Coming over to the light side's all the rage. Everybody's doing it these days. Come on, Mr. Fender, you know it's not about that. Chill, team, chill. Don't get it twisted. I was just asking a perfectly innocent question. No, you weren't. The heck you were. Hehehe. Looks like you've got a mean defense team there yourself, Miles. Fender, I am a prosecutor. Yep, and I am attorney. You could be one too. I'm serious. Well, I've said my piece. You change your mind, you know who to call. I'll be waiting. Follow in my father's footsteps. Can I really do such a thing? I'm gonna become a defense attorney just like my dad. An attorney like my father. Me? The end. The captive turnabout. Yes, I will save. And that is where we are stopping. We will continue with whatever the third mission is. Yeah, we just completed mission 2. So we'll move on to mission 3 next time. Bye-bye.